I feel like, hang on a minute, Ben Richards doesn't seem to care about anything here because he's not even bothered about this rebellion. He just wants to get out of there at this point. Is that just to try and show us that this guy's a little bit of a rebel at this point? What was your take on that?
Yeah, I guess it's just another way about when they realise we have Arnie on set. Yeah, I'm sure if this movie was done with Christopher Reeve, we'd have something much more closer to the original book.
Yeah.
I just think that so many things were changed because Arnie got involved, and they were like, "Well, now we can make this, a proper act movie."
Yeah.
And, of course, they had to make him come off as a likeable guy, but he's always a bit of a rebel in his films, isn't he? And especially into the litter, but those one-liners,
Well, there's a lot of them in this, but yeah, this at the end of this, we then see Richards, who wants to head off and see his brother. He says he'll know what to do, so he wants to go his own separate way, and of course he leaves behind the two guys he escaped with. They're gonna stay and be in this sort of underground revolution, I guess, to this network. But Richards is not interested at this point. He cannot be bothered. He is going to see his brother, and that's that. And then we get to our first shot of the which is called the ICS building is shown, and the limo carrying Killian. And that shot of the building is quite good. I mean, the way they did it, I believe they only put like the miniature on top of it type of thing. That is actually a real place. So that looked quite cool when they done that shot. I was quite impressed. And then there's like this herd of crowd outside, and everybody's cheering. And of course, this is the first time we get to see Damon Killian for the first time, who is played by none other than Richard Dawson, who first time I'm talking about him so far. But he is obviously a legit game show host, Matt. He was the legendary Family Feud guy. It seems weird because I've read lots of reports where apparently he didn't really need any lines. Like, he'd done it kind of all off the cuff, and I've got to say, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I become more of a fan of Killian after watching this film again, because he's really kind of funny. Like, I think by being off the cuff, it might have worked well, because he's just he can kind of like the war normally that you get with an Arnold film is you're going to get another strong guy, but in this sense, it's a kind of battle with the words, and I feel like Killian gives Arnold a run for his money, even with the one-liners here. So I like that aspect. I kind of like this, Richard Dawson. I think it was actually a really good pick. I'm sure at the time people would have thought, what the hell are they doing? That's just a game show host. Like, people might have already had a perception of somebody, of how the film was going to be. But he seems like he's really at home here. And from what I read, a lot of places, the character he plays and Richard Dawson, they're not that too far off. I'm not saying he's a murderer and all the rest of it, but he was kind of a ruthless guy in his own right. So when it comes to game shows, what was your take on Killian and the cast of that, Matt? And were you surprised that it was a legit game show host?
I think we're reaching the part of this is going to start to get really interesting. And like you said, with the introduction of this character particularly, because this is one of the standout things in the movie for me, because this was a genius bit of casting, really, because they brought in a guy, and you're not going to see him in many other films, to be honest, and especially playing a character, like you said, which is really easy for him to play, because there's so much experience to draw upon, and like being almost true to himself, but just maybe slightly exaggerated, like cartoons, eyes, like making those aspects like slightly larger for the big screen. And I totally believe in this guy and the way that they actually present a game show like this. If he was, I could totally see him doing this.
Yeah, no, I think he can. I think it's a great piece of casting, personally. I think it's one of the best things they do in this movie. Well, they show him, like, they want to kind of get him straight away on the back burner with the audience, because they show him kind of tripping over this mop cleaner guy, and I believe he turns around to his assistants and says, if that arsehole if that arsehole's mopping tomorrow, then you're doing it for the rest of the week. It's kind of like that. But he's kind of really nice to this old guy to his face. He's like, hey, it's all right. And then as soon as he's in the lift, if that asshole's working here, you get rid of him. So that it shows how ruthless it is in that sense. And I think it's a good introduction. You know exactly off the bat who this guy is. And where he's coming from. He obviously, the character he's playing here, Killian is obviously at this point, he's not only a host, he's like the producer, he's like running everything in this whole thing. Like, he is the top guy. So he's literally calling all the shots. There's nobody above him. Richards, meanwhile, is in some kind of builder's outfit. I don't know what the hell he was wearing here, man. This looked terrible. It just stood out like a sore thumb with this massive hat on, braces. I don't know what the hell the clothing department was here, but like a type of a futuristic look. I'm not sure, but he goes to his brother's apartment and soon discovers he might not be there. And then we jump back to Killian again, who then sees another guy. I guess he's like... he might be like his editor or something, called Tony. And I've seen this guy in everything. He's always a bad guy as well. He's even been in a famous No Holds Barred film, Matt, with the genius Hulk Hogan. He was the crook there. He's always the same character. He's always normally a villain. So I knew exactly what I was getting with him because I'd seen him in so much stuff, and he's always playing that kind of vindictive kind of character, that's who he was. I mean, he was in. He would have done the film. What was the one with Liam Neeson done? He'd done. I can't remember that. He done like a really old Marvel film. I can't remember what it was called, but he was a crook in that as well. So I've always known him as the bad guy. So even when I was younger, I kind of knew this guy was a sneaky so and so at the time. He that was for sure. And then we cut back to Ben Richards. And Matt, this gives me a nice cue here because I'm going to throw this one out here, but I'm sure you remember this one by a million miles. And I'm going to try and work this in to a little plug of ourselves. But Matt, are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering? If the answer is yes, then you need to like us on our Facebook page, All In on the Podcast. That's the ticket. No pain, no game. Jesse Ventura is in this film. Another guy from the Predator film, by the way. There are 4 actors in this, by the way, including Amber, who we're going to meet later. She's in Predator 2, but starred in the Predator franchise that are in this film. So Jesse Ventura, Matt, we know him obviously from the wrestling, Jesse the Body Ventura, but at this point he's acting, and this advert, this commercial, this reminded me of very like Paul Verhoeven of the RoboCop Total Recall type stuff. This is the satire that I would have probably have seen in that film at that time. So that's where I was coming in with this vibe. So yeah, it's predominantly for me, Matt. It's very Total Recall. It's very RoboCop, Verhoeven-like satire in that commercial, and it's the first one we see as well. For you, Matt, Jesse Ventura in this role as Captain Freedom. What did you make of that choice and his character in this one?
Well, for me, I think personally, it was my favourite character in the entire film. I'm always a big fan of him in movies, though, and I don't know what it is. I just like his larger-than-life portrayal of everyone that he does, and definitely like the way that he just come out there, and I could tell that it must be his charisma, because he just comes on, and it's definitely bringing what he had in the wrestling ring into the big screen as well, because it's just cutting such an excellent promo, especially with that workout DVD.
Yeah, and it's kind of hilarious how they put it on you, because like there's just no give up on it almost, and it's cheesy as hell when they're going on about it. Are you ready for suffering? Are you ready for pain? If the answer is yes, kind of call this number. So Matt, you as you say, you do like him. For me, I just find him really over the top, but it's a kind of funny thing over the top. Like, it's that whole thing, even on the commercial where kind of splits at the end. He's like, darts off to the side for this workout commercial. It's hilarious. But of course, this scene sets up the introduction of what's her name? Is it Amber? Amber Mendes, I think she's in this film. Of course, you may be familiar with her from she starred, of course, in Predator 2. She's been in a lot of other stuff as well, but she's kind of working out. But she is also found out that she's a composer at ICS as well. Funny enough, so she's working there as well. But she is literally in the flat of where his brother used to be. Ben Richards then, of course, steps in the only way Arnold could, really, isn't it? Straight in and wants to find out, all about it. And then, of course, she's shouting and screaming. He's the butcher of Bakersville and all the rest of it. And you get that whole kind of setup between them. What did you make of her as a casting for this part, Matt? And again, especially in comparisons to the book, did they have anybody like this in the book? I cannot remember when I read the book. Does she come up in the book, or is this just the thing for the film?
Well, I got to be honest here, because the fact that we were going to do this, regenerated my interest in the Running Man. So I wanted to find out more. So I have started reading the book, but I'm only halfway through. And up to this point, I haven't seen any sort of main female characters in the book. So okay, I'm assuming it's another embellishment written just to get on character a little bit more. He's not only is he the muscly, strong guy and a good guy to boot, but he's good with the women as well.
Yeah. Well, basically, out of all this, Ben Richards manages to get a ticket involved, doesn't he? And he's like, now this kind of scene, one minute he's got her tied up, and then he lifts off the freaking thing from the floor to kind of make sure that she knows who's boss. Kind of a little bit weird there. But he needs what do they call it? A travel pass or something? He needs that. She's got one. And, he books out, what is it, Hawaii or something, and they're straight away, that'll do. He just wants to get out of town. He's not really fussed about staying around at all. He just wants to get out of there. So, that's where he is. Now, we do get this, we do go back to another shot of Killian and Tony, who are scouting the next runners for the show. And, but they want something more, and Killian sees through the blinds or something like that. He sees the Richards escape the prison, and he's like, "Hello, beautiful." And Tony says, "Are you kidding? You can't have that. That's Ben Richards. He's the butcher." And blah blah blah. It turns out that Killian is so powerful. This network is so powerful they can just call up the Justice Department. Next minute, he's like, no, give me the president's agent. That'll do it. So it shows you how powerful this is all becoming. I've got to say that probably, I don't know if it's just through budget, but the one thing this film lets itself down on is I don't really think they drive home. They certainly are. Even as a viewer now, I don't get the impression that they drive home just the kind of, I don't buy the influence of what they have on this TV, like they're trying to put it out there as. All I'm seeing is this Los Angeles crowd of people. But it's very hard for me to think the whole of America is, blindsided on this company. And, it's ICS have owned everything because of these game shows. I'm not sure the film delivers enough. I think they could have gone a different way about it. Not sure how, but they might have needed to come up with something a little bit more bigger, a wider scale. I feel like it is what it is. They're trying to drive it home in every sentence, but for me, it's very hard to take that they're having that much influence on everybody across the whole country, let alone the world. Apparently, it's the most rated show in the world. So he basically sets his eyes on Richards. He knows with him, he's going to get more ratings, and they're getting bored because of the lack of competition. In all that, and so we then get to this airport scene. I completely forgot all about this until I'd watched this recently. What did you make of this scene, Matt? Especially Ben Richards, Arnold's attire in this. talk about don't try and stand out. He's wearing a Hawaiian t-shirt.